Can't stop the train, baby. Woo!
Welcome to the 40th round of VVV's The Losers Bracket. We'd like to thank Rapture for coming on as a special guest while Paradise is out of town.
That's right. Welcome, Rapture. Paradise is with VVV Mix on his way to South Korea for the IESF event, which is the International Esports Federation. Dakota, welcome back to your first podcast home. How are you?
I'm doing mad awesome. Thanks for having me on tonight. It's really awesome to be back and stuff, you know, how it is.
I also want a bit of fond farewell to VVV Spikemouth. Justin, unfortunately, will no longer be able to join us on the podcast show for personal reasons. And this has given us an opportunity to bring in VVV NBK, formerly known as Solid, been our long-standing Halo manager. So welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be on board.
So for those that know, VVV NBK's first name is Kyle. So if I refer to Kyle, you'll know that I'm talking about NBK. So, Kyle, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm the Halo manager for VVV. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. 20 years old, avid Halo player, fanboy, whatever you want to call me. Everything Halo is pretty much what I'm all about. Big Halo nerd.
So I think you're going to make an excellent replacement for Justin, although we're sad to see him go. For those of you that don't know, I had a great opportunity to sit in the car with Kyle as we were heading to MLGDC and on the way back, and we spoke about Halo a good majority of the time, and I got a good history lesson. So I think you're going to be a great addition to the show.
World of Warcraft players, all of you out there, unfortunately, MLG bailing out on you for a little bit. Due to technical complications, the National Championships will be postponed and won't be at Dallas. There will be no stream. There will be no finals event on site, but it will be postponed, and this is, again, due to technical complications, I believe this is because of the Cataclysm expansion pack. So, guys, what do you guys think on this one? The postponement, you guys think it's actually going to be, like, postponed at all, or it's not going to happen?
I think it will happen in probably a couple months, probably as soon as Cataclysm comes out, when the arenas come back up, and that's why... That's the technical difficulty, is the arenas were temporarily closed prior to Cataclysm's launch, and that's the real reason why MLG Dallas cannot have WoW Nationals, obviously. And for one, I kind of think it's a good thing anyway. No one's going to watch it anyway, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I personally watch it, but I mean, it's safe to say that it'll definitely be around, so that's at least good. I mean, I don't know, at least I would have thought they would have saw this coming, though, but unfortunately that was not the case. Also, at the same time, MLG... giving us another little change. If you have a username on Game Battles or MLGpro.com, MLG is starting up with a single sign-on system. You'll have one username throughout the whole site. But because of this, after November 1st, you will never, ever, ever, or just will be unavailable to change your username. So if you want to change yours, for whatever reason you think your GB random XXXIXXXXX name is, worth changing, please do so before November 1st. You won't be able to ever again for all eternity.
And don't forget, it costs 10 credits to change your username, so make sure you go to the MLG store to get those, and go ahead and change it from that random tag, like Dakota said.
Also, more MLG news concerning StarCraft 2, which will obviously be... Is that going to be at the Dallas, Ryan?
Yes, it will be. I hear it's going to be a lot of great matches to come because Idra won't be there, is from what I hear.
Yep, he's gone back to the homeland. But if you'd like to relive all of what was awesome, October 15th and 17th through the 17th at MLGDC, you can download the replay files off of MLGpro.com, all of that action, be able to get it in right there.
Yeah, and as a note, I think that's a good idea for anybody who is interested in watching StarCraft. Obviously, Idris has returned back to South Korea, where he plays and lives now. For many of you, this is going to be your best opportunity to study the gameplay of a lot of the top StarCraft players. So take advantage of the SC2 replays that Major League Gaming has made available. Speaking of Idra, did you guys happen to catch his interview on the MLG site?
Yeah, I did. What a smug little man.
I mean, his reputation has always been one of, what's the right word? Upsetting people. But here's a nerdy little kid, right? You take Idra, you put a collared shirt on him, corduroy pants, and a pocket protector, and you have a 1972 physics professor, right? That's Idra, right? Kind of short, kind of the kid you know got his ass kicked all through high school because he was just annoying. And, you know, he's found his niche. Whether that's good for competitive gaming or not, we could debate that a different time. But MLG throws him a softball, right? Here's his chance. Huck, for better or worse, whatever you feel, they ask him, hey, what do you think of Huck's strategy, right? And obviously, he could have chose any way to present the information. Instead, what does he do? And here's my sort of question. Before we get into the details, for those of you that don't know, after MLG DC, they obviously interviewed Idra, because obviously he won. And near the end, you know, they ask him this sort of like one more question for you kind of thing, right? And they said, you know, they talk about Huck, and the question is, Huck had a show-stopping moment in the losers bracket finals when he went for a mothership rush. Does Huck's bravado earn a thumbs up or thumbs down from you? Idra's response, it was absolutely idiotic. This is first and foremost a competition. No one can say with a straight face that he felt that Mothership Rush was his best chance to win the game. Fan service is great. Without the fans, we wouldn't exist. But the fans are there to watch StarCraft 2, not WWE. It cheapens the tournament to do something like that. All right, gentlemen? Agree? Disagree? I want to hear from each of you.
I just want to first go ahead and start by saying Huck's go-to strategy is, you know, the Mothership Rush, to catch, you know, his opponent off guard. I don't get how he could say that it cheapens the tournament at all. Also, to compare StarCraft 2 to WWE is like, what's the right word? Blasphemous or something? I don't know. Honestly, it was
dramatic, that's for sure.
It's a little over the top. It's a little exaggerated, and honestly, no one, you know, Huck's been doing this for the past 3 tournaments where he won Raleigh. Obviously, it's been working for him, and it just didn't work in that perspective. Had it worked, maybe Idra's answer could have been completely different. But, I mean, Idra just sounded like a little kid who was like, hey, look, his strategy is terrible. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. It's play to win. And, you know, and I know all Smashers will tell you this, you got to play to win no matter what. There's obviously a limit, but if it's a tactic in the game that's legal and there's no reason why you shouldn't do it, I would do it. I don't really understand the basics of StarCraft 2, but if there's a strategy that allows you to do that, whether or not it's, you know, a crowd-pleasing thing shouldn't make a difference, because at the end of the day, what matters is who's winning and who's not. Now, personally, I like it when it's, you know, stylish or whatever, and you still get the win. You know, if you do stuff basic, that's cool. You want to get the win. But if, you know, it's fun to please the crowd, I mean, it doesn't matter. If you win something and no one's watching, no one gives a crap, then who gives a shit? But if everyone's watching and it's fun and you make it fun for everybody and you still win, that's a plus. And unfortunately, I guess Idra didn't really understand that, or doesn't. I don't know. I mean, he won. I don't know why he was complaining about it. So I don't know.
You know, I know that StarCraft isn't your game, but I mean, a Mothership Rush just sort of. The best way to explain it is it's almost not going to work. Like, it's not a good strat, and that's obvious. But, I mean, it's worked for Huck before, right? So you take a chance. And, you know, this is exactly it, right? Like, first it's Idra with the, you know, don't have the crowd stand too close to me. Then it's sort of like, let's just sit here and golf clap. And now it's, you know, you're turning StarCraft into WWE. I'm going to be honest. If you gave me a choice between watching chess and watching WWE, neither of which I watch, I'll choose WWE any day. And I don't wrestle, and I do play chess, right? So I'm not sure who wants a cold, sterile, boring tournament, but I think most of us, and to be honest, I mean, this is almost like part of the problem, right? Is that in the single-player games, if you don't have a sort of community that's loud and rambunctious like Brawl, it's too easy to have this, I don't know, prima donna situation where somebody's like, oh, you know, this is the proper culture to play the game. This is how the fans should behave. I don't know. To me, nobody wants to hear that. To me, that's just pure crap.
Well, Huck being a top competitor, I mean, he's won tournaments before. I think Idra's saying these kind of like he's kind of bad-mouthing him, and he's going after the WWE, which is, you don't want to mess with those guys. Those guys will hurt you. But for him to insult Huck is just, shows he's more of a competitor than like a showman. But you need to be a showman. You need to show showmanship along with being a good competitor, and I think that's what Huck does well. Obviously, it was a kamikaze rush. I mean, he wasn't expecting to win, but, he just wanted to put on a good show. I mean, you can't badmouth him for that.
I agree. And I mean, honestly, StarCraft 2 needs the different strats. So, the top players will have to adapt to, different play styles, really. And if we watch Idra do the same strat over and over and over and over again, honestly, StarCraft 2 is not even going to be fun to watch. It's going to be like watching a chess match or Scrabble or dominoes.
Let's move topics to this weekend's event that just happened in Las Vegas, the Midnight Gaming Championship, MGC. And I want to invite to this one of our own brawlers, VV ChiboSempai. I want to welcome you to the show. Chibo, how are you this evening?
Good, how are you?
I am fantastic. But first, I want to get down to the down and dirty of Brawl and the drama that unfolded this weekend. Now, Dakota, who's going to be talking about this in great detail on the next episode of Directional Influence, will go into the nitty-gritty, the politics, the players. But, Chibo, if you don't mind, I'd like to get just an overview, sort of a quick what caused the drama. This drama, for those who don't know, caused a conflict between Cheese and Hayes, two of our brawlers. Hayes resigned. Havoc left our Brawl division but stayed in the community. And Chibo's going to explain to you what happened, and I'm going to tell you what VV Gaming is going to do about it. So, Chibo, the floor is yours. Set the stage. Las Vegas, the Stratosphere, Midnight Gaming Championship. You guys, you brawlers, concocted a scheme, and drama results. Talk to me.
Well, you definitely set the stage there for quite the telling of a story. It really is quite surprising just exactly how everything unfolded, the drama that ensued from everything. I mean, everybody can see the damage now that's happened afterwards, but let me take everybody back a little bit. Midnight Gaming Championships, this is the third season, I believe, that they are doing business. First year was Melee, they had a regular finals. Second year is Brawl, which they did just regular events, no finals. And this is the first year that they've had Brawl with a normal finals event at the end of this year, as you know, in Vegas. It just happened this past weekend.
So, Chibo, before you get too far into this, Midnight Gaming Championship was an online qualifier, and Midnight Gaming Championship paid for you guys to fly out there and also paid for you to have one night in a hotel. Is that correct?
That is correct. However, it was a mix of in-person and online qualifier events. It was about a 50-50 split between online and offline, and then there were 32 finalists from the events, which were entered into a final bracket, and after 2 rounds, 8 players were chosen to fly out to Las Vegas for free.
And it's my understanding the first problem that I became aware of was when Mewtwo King, who was in Australia, somehow magically qualified for this event. Is that correct?
That is correct, and we do have undeniable proof about it. Cheese himself had to play Mewtwo King in one of the online qualifiers, and we are 100% certain it was not Mewtwo King, and we're also pretty sure we know who it is.
But we won't allow that kind of speculation on the show, but we can all agree it would have been physically impossible for Mewtwo King to qualify from Australia over the internet. Are we agreeing with that?
Well, I mean, in those kind of specifics, I don't want to say that because actually the person he was housing with out in Australia, I'm actually friends with online since I'm friends with him on Smashboards, and I've actually played him online. It's just that when you play somebody from Australia online, the lag is ridiculous. It's almost unplayable, but the fact that Mewtwo King's matches were supposedly lagless, pretty much coming from somebody here in the Atlantic North. So in the sense of how he played, it's impossible, though it's not theoretically completely impossible.
I understand. Okay, move us forward, Chibo.
So that was the first kind of controversy there. We had brought it up to MGC, and nothing really came of it. We pretty much just got the responses, we're looking into it, that sort of thing. But, I mean, nothing really happened as such. The bracket moved on, and we proceeded to fly out to Vegas.
So you arrive in Vegas, you're there. I think you want to break the news about the plot, the plan as it unfolded.
Yes, here is the plot. 1 week prior to Vegas, when we were deciding about the trip and whatnot, we knew who the 8 going were. We knew the prize payouts, and the payouts being $5,000 for first place and $1,000 for second place. Personally, us as players thought that this was an incredibly unbalanced payment amount, awarding 5 times the amount of money to first place over than second place. No Brawl tournament does this. MLG doesn't do this. Local tournaments don't do this. And so we had thought of a new payout system that we could do. And at MLG, we had proposed that we split the money between the 7 of us, 7 instead of 8, because I was in the bracket twice from winning 2 qualifiers. And we would award more money to first and possibly second place, and money to everybody else. And we had every single player, except for one person, agree to the split, even Mewtwo King. The only person that was a little shaky about it was Ally, who was a maybe on it. But that is how the plot started.
I want to go back to what you said earlier, is how you qualified twice, yet the tournament didn't try and get another player in there to take that 8th spot.
Well, the way it works is MGC was pretty upfront about this. I mean, I've gotten notices about it every time I won a qualifier. I talked to the officials about it, and every player was allowed to win up to 3 qualifiers. So out of the series of in-person and online events, I had won 3 of the events, and in the final 32 bracket, I was listed in there 3 times. And of my 3 entrance spots, 2 of my entries made it through the first 2 rounds onto the top 8 to be flown to Vegas. So, I mean, anybody had the chance to do it, and there were people that entered multiple qualifiers. They just didn't win all of them. However, since I was in there from the beginning, I was definitely working to try and get as many spots as I won to get the trip to Vegas.
Okay, so Brawlers arrive. You guys decide, wait a minute, this prize pool is not fair. Did you at that time talk to anybody from the tournament?
Well, the last time we had talked to everybody was at MLG DC. When we had first arrived in Vegas, we didn't bring it up again quite yet because most of us had arrived there on Friday, the day before it started, and Mike Hayes was arriving Saturday morning before the tournament, and we didn't want to start anything without everybody being present.
So coming Saturday, right? Did you then talk to somebody from the tournament about what you guys wanted to do?
We certainly did. Me, Cheese, and Fatal, who were both pretty much hanging out together for the entire weekend, we had first decided that coming after our discussion at MLG DC was to make sure there's no bad blood about the split. We know companies like MLG, and even myself as a tournament host, I don't like splits to happen like this. But what we're really out to do, or what we were out to do, was not to split the money per se, but to create a new payment system that MGC would hopefully agree with. So the 3 of us had tracked down and spoken with Blake Pettigrew, the head of MGC Gaming. We told him how we thought that $5,000 was a bit overzealous compared to $1,000 for second place, and proposed a payout split to pay out all 7 players that were there, and proposed a payout split of $2,500 for first, $1,000 for second, and $500 for the remaining 5 players. And to our surprise, well, not really a surprise, but I mean, we were definitely pleased with how supportive he was of it. Blake completely agreed with us, and he was even helpful to the point where he said that even though he had a $5,000 and $1,000 check already drafted, he would draft new checks for us, which we would have received shortly, just to avoid confusion, keep everything simple. And he was really helpful and supportive of it, and he said as long as every single player agrees with it, I will help you guys. It's not a problem at all. You guys are free to do that.
All right. So the 3 of you who, based on the agreement and conversation that you had with the other brawlers at MLGDC, the 3 of you decided to approach Blake with this split, and he was open to the idea. What happened after that?
Since this was Saturday afternoon and we had just received the okay from Blake about it, we had found out where the other brawlers were. Mike Hayes was now in Vegas as well, and we went to the hotel room where Mike Hayes, Mewtwo King, Ally, and Lee Martin were all practicing for the tournament. So we went to the room, we sat around, we chilled for a bit, and the 3 of us had mentioned how we spoke to Blake about it, wanted to bring up pretty much continue the conversation from MLG DC. We told him about the split, we told him the prize money. We had suggested to Blake how he was okay with it, how he would help us out with it, to which we were pretty much greeted with the reply of, no, we do not want to split with you guys. We want to split just between the 4 of us.
Assuming that the 4 of them would be in top 4.
Well, not necessarily that. It's a little different. If they had proposed a top 4 payout, there probably wouldn't be any of these problems whatsoever. Everybody would have an equal chance to get in the top 4 and to win that money. This instead was they wanted all of the money to go to just the 4 of them, assuming that 2 of them would make it to the top 2 places to get the $5,000 and $1,000. So let's just say theoretically I was to get 3rd place, Cheese were to get 4th place, and Mike Hayes and Lee got 7th place. They would still both get money just because of the split. Pretty much the 4 of them were conspiring to collect the $6,000 and split it between them $1,500 each.
Gotcha. And obviously, I assume that the 3 of you were not happy with that position.
Not at all. I mean, I pretty much just said it there. It pretty much was them conspiring to make it a lock so we could not receive any money whatsoever. Because, I mean, granted, when you have M2K, Lee Martin, and Ally in a group, 2 of them are going to get top 2. It's a very unlikely shot that the 3 of us would break the top 2. Now, if it was a top 4 payout, definitely possible for one of us to break the top 4 to get money to split between us if we wanted to. I mean, it did happen. One of us did get into the top 4. However, they were pretty much just trying to keep the money all to themselves.
You know, I don't want to comment on it yet, but I've got one question for you, Chibo. Let's turn the clock all the way back to MLGDC real quick. And, you know, I'm not the only one who's heard this, but this isn't the first time some kind of this isn't the first time some kind of tournament prize split has happened. Is that correct?
That is completely correct. It's actually a very, very big problem in this Smash community at times. It seems to have died down a little bit recently, but prize splitting is generally frowned upon, especially from tournament organizers such as myself, mainly because if the top 2 players in a tournament decide to split, then pretty much grand finals are nothing. There's nothing on the line. The 2 players will pretty much just joke around. They don't try their best or anything. So a lot of people really frown upon splitting, and I especially hate it myself. But that's why we wanted to try and make it clear, especially to Blake, is we weren't trying to do a split. We were trying to change the payouts, especially with our proposed $2,500, $1,000, and $500 for the rest. 2nd place got more than everybody else, and 1st place got the most out of everybody. There would still be a full competition. Everybody would still be trying their best to get the money, and it's just changing the payout percents.
After hearing all that, I mean, it just seems like it's supposed to be like a tournament, you know, where, you know, you guys were trying to make it so, you know, everyone came home with something. You know, it was like most of the players, from what I was told at MLGDC, didn't really take this event way too serious. Like, they were all going to have fun. You know, they got a free trip to Vegas. They're going to go hang out, have fun, play, and compete. And you guys were trying to make it so everyone came home with something. And it seems that they conspired it so only 4 of, you know, them 4 would split, like you said. And it was just, that's just wrong way to do gaming. It was not giving people a good view of us.
I'm just going to say this is because I've heard Chibo's version of it, Mike Hayes' version of it, Ally's version of it, and then the telephone versions from people who have heard from each other. And I'm going to say that, if anything, it sucks because, you know, we don't have, you know, those eyewitnesses what actually happened. But a lot of people are taking stances on it, and unfortunately, we have, like, people on one side and people on Chibo's side and Mike's side and whatever. And I'm just going to say this to everybody listening, that don't take sides based on stories you hear. You may agree with them, but now we got people judging each other because of what they supposedly did and how it worked out. And none of us really know because the only people who have the stories are the people who are involved. And personally, it sucks to hear. We all know something happened. But don't, like, this is my suggestion to everybody, don't start taking sides and judging people based on what you hear, because you gotta take everything into account and realize that something happened, but we don't know exactly. Chibo's story sounds very legit. I'm not, like, denying his honesty. I'm really not. But we all have to, I just don't want this to be like something where it splits people up almost, because that's what it seems like it's doing. And unfortunately, that's what happens because Smash Bros. Players are very emotional, and not emotional, maybe sensitive, these kind of things. But that's just my take on it. Like, it's something that we sort of just gotta take care of and then forget, really.
I mean, even though, like, it doesn't matter which side you take, even if, like, you take sides, the fact that this is, like, there's a story and, you know, conspiracy theory pretty much. And pretty much, I mean, you just need to look at it as this is bad for gaming no matter what. No matter which side is actually true, it's just bad for gaming.
Well, Chibo, my question is, do you think this is going to bring a lot of drama into future Brawl events between those people involved in your little split dispute?
Well, I mean, nothing has really ever happened quite to scale like this at any Brawl tournament ever before. I mean, if you look at the tournament results section now on Smashboards, this tiny 7-person tournament has more replies than an 80-person or regional that happened on the same weekend. Everybody is so shocked and appalled about what happened. It's completely new to the Smash community that something on this level has happened. And as far as how it affects other players and whatnot, well, I can guarantee you that because of what happened, I might not be the best of friends with some of people now. Overall, I think everything is fine, and at least from what I've read from the Smashboards community, a lot of people are handling it mature. People, as in like the people reading the stories and whatnot, they're understanding what happened. Not too many of them are jumping to conclusions and whatnot. And I mean, while some of them are taking somewhat of a stance, saying like who they kind of believe, they can still see other people's point of view and whatnot. I'm kind of glad at like how the community is handling it. It's really not too bad. But I mean, in terms of what is happening here, it's really unprecedented.
Well, we had a meeting about it on Monday inside VV Gaming, and we haven't really released any news yet. And we decided that instead of doing written news, that we would announce it here first and then allow Rapture's show that he co-hosts, Directional Influence, to cover it instead of putting it all in an article, because it is very complicated. Unfortunately, based on this, VV Gaming has to make some decisions. We obviously had the resignation of Mike Hayes, who will now be replaced. I'm proud to announce that you, VVV ChiboSempai, will be our new Brawl manager, so congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You have a lot of tournament experience. We've been to 2 events with you. You've done interviews for us. I think you have all the capability to do an excellent job. So welcome to the team and welcome to staff.
Glad to be aboard.
The second thing is we're going to release Lee Martin and Mewtwo King. The whole event makes it very difficult to move forward. This is nothing personal against Lee Martin or Mewtwo King, but after watching what I saw in DC, hearing what happened after DC, then watching what happened here, it has become evident to me that Lee Martin and Mewtwo King both need money. And money is very important to them, and I guess that's fantastic. But VV Gaming is not only about money. Obviously, we have a community, we have sponsors. So effective immediately, we are going to release both those players. We will not be picking up Ally should he apply. So if Ally would ever apply, we would politely decline him. I don't want anyone involved at that level. Also, we will still have a Brawl division, because I know many people have asked, and we will sponsor players to local events, national events, to MLG events next year. But as far as this season, we're done with the sponsoring portion of Brawl. We're going to look to the future. I think that a lot of what happened reflects poorly on a few players, and I'm not going to judge the entire Brawl community, which I really love. I think the energy is fantastic. I'm just going to politely say that, we have to make a stand. And, it's just sort of like StarCraft when you have people betting and throwing games to make money. It's horrible, and we don't want any of it. So that's what we're going to do. Sorry that we had to make these decisions, and I wish Mewtwo King and Lee Martin good success. Hopefully they learn from this, and they never do it again. But we have to make a strong stand. This brings me this week to my rant. And you know who my rant goes out? It goes out to the Brawl community. Because I just want to set the fucking record straight. All right? I want to make sure that this is really clear. And that every brawler out there knows exactly how I feel. There was VVV way before Brawl ever got on the fucking circuit. And let me tell you one thing. There's going to be VVV way after Brawl leaves. Just to be clear. But after this weekend, and I look at the Brawl forums, and I see all this fucking hate about Cheese, let me make something clear. VVV Gaming will not drop Cheese. I don't care if everybody lines up, but the way the Brawl community treats Cheese looks awfully familiar to me the way brown shirts in Germany treated Jews. Most of you don't even know the kid, but you all seem to think it's popular to hate him, and like sheep, you follow Hitler to bitch. That's not how we roll. And I'll stand up to any motherfucker who's got shit to say about somebody in VVV. To Mike Hayes, let me make something clear to you. Fuck you. You resigned without speaking to anybody on staff, and you made your big dramatic stance. Well, you know what? Good riddance. Done. 2, the thing that upsets me is when people come to us and say, oh, I can't believe you have these players of this caliber. Number 1, we didn't sponsor Cheese, just to be clear. The Brawlers had a room, the sponsored Brawlers had a room, and it was their choice to decide who to let stay there. But at the end of the day, it's not even about that. We never even bitched when our top Brawlers had non-VVV people in our room. We were just donating generously to the top Brawlers. We were having fun. But this weekend, that fucking fun took a turn. And that's why Lee Martin no longer with us. That's why Mewtwo King no longer with us. Let me make it clear. We can drop the top Brawler, and it doesn't matter to our bottom line. And the reason that we're continuing to support Brawl is because people like ChiboSempai and people like Cheese. Because I'll be honest with you, if you don't know Cheese, if you don't know Chibo, maybe you should before you just tote the party line. But let there be no doubt, I saw what some of your loudmouth community members were like at DC. To DM Brandon, for all the shit you talk, there were many opportunities for you to come up to me. I even had people go up to you and say, hey, why don't you go talk to Lord Jareth? And instead, you ran like a fucking rat. So you want to say you hate VVV Gaming? There's a long motherfucking line to stand in. There are Gears players, there are Tekken players, and you know what? You Brawl players who don't like us, stay in the fucking line. You got a long fucking line to stand in. But let me make it clear to you, we're not dropping Cheese. We will not ever be intimidated by a community. You don't get to crown who VVV brings into its ranks. You don't get to decide and judge who is good and who is not good. We make these decisions based on an interview process, talking to these players. So maybe, just maybe, the reason we are the most successful console organization in the history of console organizations is because we know exactly what we're doing. And I don't need a bunch of randoms on the Brawl forums crying about it. So to my case, good luck to you. I'm sorry you thought that this dramatic, oh, look, I'm resigning. That's fine. That's fine. I want you all to know something else. I want to thank Chibo for a minute for reminding me that not the whole Brawl community is like those 4 players. And to remind me that the mindless sheep that behave that way are not the only Brawlers out there. Because if it were up to me otherwise, after this weekend, I would have been done with Brawl. Goodbye, Brawl community. It was nice playing. Glad you guys had fun. Thank you. End of story. But Chibo was kind enough to remind me, don't make the same mistake they do. Don't label everyone as negative. And I appreciate that. But I hope you get my message loud and clear. We're not dropping Cheese. You don't get to decide who is in VVV. This is not a Brawl popularity contest. If you don't like the way we run VVV Gaming, I invite you Brawlers to start your own organization and go right ahead and recruit whatever Brawlers you want. You go find the sponsors and you go make it happen. Until then, VVV Gaming is run by me. I make the decisions and I'm responsible for them. And if you don't like it, don't let the fucking door hit you where the good Lord split you. And I'm done.
What if he split you twice like Dakota?
I don't know what to say about that.
Wait, what? I don't have a vagina. I do not have a vagina.
All right, well, everyone, I'd like to thank you for listening in on the 40th round of Losers Bracket. Thank you to BBV's sponsors, SteelSeries, Control Freak, MusicSkins.com, GamerLogos.net, and Custom Inc. Thank you to everyone in the BBV community for their feedback and support. We look forward to hearing more from you. And be sure to stop by our podcast homepage at bbvgaming.podbean.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to BBV Gaming on iTunes to follow both of our shows, The Original Influence featuring Rapture, tonight's guest host, and The Losers Bracket. Email us at thelosersbracket@bbv-gaming.com or follow us on Twitter where we are known as Losers Bracket.
Thank you for that great outro, Solid, your first one. And I want to wish Mix and Paradise a safe trip in Korea. We look forward to hearing how that went. I want to thank you, Rapture, for coming on and being a co-host. So thank you.
No problem.
I want to go ahead and thank Solid for coming on pretty much short notice, filling up the Halo 3 void that we had. Or now I can say safely Halo Reach.
I definitely want to say thank you to you guys for having me. I've been looking forward to having a spot on here, even if it was just a guest spot, but now I think I have a little home over here. Definitely shout out to everyone on BBB. I'd like to say hi to you guys. That's it.
I want to give a better shout out than Solids. Shout out to everybody. Oh, shout out to you guys first for having me back on the show, which is great. I love you guys. Shout out to everybody at BBB, special No Water, because No Water is apparently good at gears. Also, shout out to my guys over at Directional Influence, Will and PD, for being homeboys, Rich Brown for being legit, Fail for being legit, and Verminubis because his mic is so awesome that it makes him sound like the devil.
I want to give a shout out to Jerry and the rest of BVV for taking me on as the new Brawl manager. And even though things have been rough over the past week, we're definitely going to work through it, and we're going to give Brawl a new and much better name now.
After that, I would like to say, guys, have a good night. Thanks for listening.